All right. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. This is kind of an emergency live stream that I decided to get together, and I'm here today with Kartik Krishnaiyer, who you might have remembered when I was doing the 2024 election. I was down in Florida, and Kartik and I did a few things. We've done other stuff as well. I was expecting to see stuff with the Florida redistricting tomorrow, but they went ahead and dropped it on us today. So we're going to go ahead and just recap what's happened over the last, 2 hours or so now.
Yep.
So, and we'll have questions and stuff, and we're gonna really delve into what's happening in Florida right now. So, from all things that I can see, unless there's something else that's showing it different, the map was released on Fox News. Not to the
Right.
state house, not to the state senate, not to anybody else, but on Fox News. And this was the map that was released. Kartik and I will talk about why that in and of itself might be an issue. A few minutes later, this is the map. A few minutes later, they went ahead and released this map of the districts. Okay. And we're going to go over the districts. This is what the map is going to look like now. Dave's redistricting was, I guess, able to get a shapefile of the map. This is what the map looked like before. We're going to talk about some of the differences with this. We're also going to go over the fair districts law in Florida, which might not matter because, the Supreme Court and the courts in Florida are very much on DeSantis' side. But you never know, right? And so on. And if we're going to delve into anything more specific, we'll go ahead and go into the voting trend dashboard. So that's what we have going on right now. Now, all right, Kartik. So let's go ahead and talk about. Let's just kind of do this in order. And I know you've been talking to people as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the Fox News aspect of it. So it's not, to me, it's not necessarily, it is an issue that he released it on Fox News, but actually I think I'm putting the cart before the horse. Let's go ahead and look at the fair districts law. So there's a
Yes.
tier 1 and a tier 2 standard. Okay. And so
And Dave, before you go there, let's just explain. Florida has its own very distinct constitutional requirements for the way congressional districts are drawn. So if there are all these Republicans on social media who are saying, "Oh well, look at what California did and look at what Virginia did," they never talk about Texas or Missouri, but Florida has a different constitutional standard, which Dave's about to go through. So understand this is
and
unique
at
to
least
Florida.
those went to the voters. Right? The
Right, well,
voters
that's
could have
true
voted
too.
yes
Right.
or no, right? So every Democratic one has gone to the voters, with the exception of Utah. That was actually a court ordered one, whereas all the
Right.
Republican ones have just been done by the legislature. All right, so let's look at the tier 1 standards. So no district shall be drawn with the intent to favor or disfavor a political party or an incumbent. The second thing is, districts shall not be drawn with the intent or result of denying or abridging the equal opportunity of racial or language minorities to participate in the political process or to diminish their ability to elect representatives of their choice. The third thing is, districts shall consist of contiguous territory. Now, that's the first tier. Then we have the tier 2 standards, which must be met unless they conflict with federal law. Okay, districts shall be as nearly equal in population as is practicable. That there is federal law for that. Districts shall be compact, which is an issue that has always, ever since this, has kind of plagued the redistricting. And districts shall, where feasible, utilize existing political and geographical boundaries. So that just means making sure that it uses the U.S. Census or the precincts they have or whatever, and not creating new boundaries where they're kind of making up the data. All right, so Kartik, let's go ahead and because if we really want to talk about it, this kind of shows their cards right off the bat, right? So this it already says in tier 1 you're not supposed to be drawing a map for partisan reasons. And you and I thought of this immediately. We both said the first map they release is a partisan map, which already shows partisan intent, right? So They didn't release this map. They released this one that shows red and blue that can be easily seen as partisan. And then they finally, a few minutes later, release this map, I think realizing they need to put the shit back in the horse and like, we might have given it away. So, right off the bat, I think there's already the Florida constitutional argument of this being a partisan map, because the first map that they released, not to the legislature, but on Fox News, was a map showing partisan breakdown. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that this is very interesting that they chose. Perhaps it's an error. Perhaps the well, it's done, right? But you are putting out a map saying that we are basically drawing seats based on partisanship, not on any other consideration. It doesn't matter that his quote, his statement was that it was about growth since the 2020 census and Florida was shortchanged to see. For those who don't know the history here, that 2022 redistricting, that the map that we're running on was drawn by DeSantis's then governor's office legal counsel, James Utmeyer, who is now our attorney general, who was appointed attorney general by DeSantis. The actual map that passed the legislature and DeSantis vetoed drew a 1711 map based on, what would have been potentially a 1711 map, but it wasn't based on partisanship at all. We're thinking it would have been 17 Republicans and 11 Democrats, but it was drawn based on what is in the amendment Dave just read. So this is a second attempt to make it more partisan, and is quite brazen to put out this map like this on Fox News with partisan use, because he's trying to appeal to the Fox News audience, right? Without talking to the legislature, without talking to anyone in Florida state government beforehand. Now, as has been the case time and again with this legislature, the assumption is now they will just bend the knee and pass this map. If that's the case, it will be interesting to see how many Republicans peel off. They have supermajorities in both houses of the legislature, but it will also be then pretty critical that the Democrats stay united in voting against the map, because it then will show some partisan intent. What has happened in the past when there have been court challenges to maps in Florida is because some Democrat here or there has been promised something by the Republican leadership. They have peeled off and voted for partisan gerrymandered maps. I went through this in 2002 when I was the lead on redistricting for the Florida Democratic Party, because we lost a bunch of state house members, and we lost a couple of people in the state Senate, including, in my face in a hearing where I testified, where I was basically saying my party chair at the time was Bob Poe from Seminole County. This is what he would like, and then we had a couple Democrats give excuses for voting for the map. A court challenge was batted away. So it's very important this time that the Democrats no Democrats cross over, and it'll be interesting to see if there are any Republicans that vote against this map, given that it's pretty much a free vote, right? Because they have a supermajority, it's going to pass anyway.
Right. It's going to pass anyway. And another thing that I want to mention, and we'll look at, and we'll delve into the maps here. So I have Dave's redistricting right here for the map, and then the old map as well. And I don't know if I can make these somewhat equal. Maybe not. But the second argument that I think can be made about it specifically trying to disadvantage the Democrats is, from what I can see, Congressional District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, interestingly enough, have not changed. They're the same congressional districts. Okay? The only Republican congressional districts they have changed are Republican congressional districts that they can draw into Democratic districts, and the parts that they drew in the Democratic districts, then they have to take away from the other district. So, for example, if we look at the districts here in the Tampa Bay area, we do see that obviously Castor is now split up, but we see this Congressional District 15 that now goes down into, well, it looks like it goes down into downtown Tampa, right? Whereas that district before basically ended in, which was Congressional District 12 before, it basically ended at the Pasco Hillsborough line. And the Pasco Hillsborough line in West Pasco, or in West Hillsborough. Whereas now the Tampa, how it's drawn to Tampa, it comes into the east part of Tampa, comes over by through Dade City, through Zephyr Hills, doesn't go all the way down to Plant City, but it goes into the eastern part of Tampa. So because it's doing that, then other districts since it's taken on these new votes, then other districts have to take on other votes. The fact that all 5 of these districts, or all 7 of these districts are the same, also shows that it is of partisan intent, because the only Republican districts that are being drawn are the ones that affect Republican districts. Now, people might say, oh, well, what about these ones down in Southwest Florida? No, well, what happens is District 14 will take on more Democratic votes, which then means District 16 has to take on more from the old ones, and so on and so forth. So they all have to borrow from each other. Here in the north parts, they don't have that problem, which also brings the argument that you just mentioned. So the excuse was growth. Okay, if it's growth, 2 things. One, why didn't these districts change? There's been growth in others in Duval County, probably Clay County, probably St. Johns County, and you've mentioned Nassau County. Okay, there's been growth. 2, if it's about growth, why aren't they changing the state house and the state senate maps? Wouldn't that affect the growth too? And the third thing, if they're talking about growth, what data are they using to talk about growth? Well, they obviously cannot use the 2020 census data, because that would have been the data that they used originally. Are they using estimates? And if they are estimates, can you necessarily say that we should be looking at that? And then there's another thing.
They appear to be using, I just got the data packet, and they appear to be using what they call target population, total population. I believe this is based on the 2020 census. That's what it appears to me. There's no other indication that's an estimate. So, for example, in District 12, which has been a heavily redrawn district, you just mentioned the Tampa Bay area, it says Hillsborough County, 415,939, Pasco, 353, 282. I believe that is based on the last census. I do not believe that's based on any estimate.
Well, one way to find out is if you go into, let's say, District 3.
Okay, let's do that.
Go into,
I got the file.
Go into District 3 and then go into Columbia County, because it's totally within District 3, and then see if that number is the same as the 2020 census number for Columbia County.
Let's do that right now. Well, you can keep talking. I'm going to do that with District. Let's go to District 2 or District 3.
District 3. Any county.
Oh, let's do this. District 2. Let's look. Liberty County, 7,974.
Leon County in District 2. Leon County is totally within District 2.
So I just pulled Liberty, because that's always kind of the easiest, because it's our smallest county. 7,794 is what they said is the population. Now let's pull up the last census for Liberty County.
And we can just try to do that on Wikipedia.
That's what I'm doing. Quick facts. Total 7,774 based on the 2020 census. Based on the 2025 estimate, it's 8,035. So it is the 2020 census.
Yeah. So okay, so there we go. They're not even using any estimated data. Well, even okay, let's see. Another county that might be better to look at. Actually, you know what the best county might be? Hold on a second. There might be one. Hold on. I want to see, what about Seminole County, Florida? Because Seminole County is totally within. Okay, Seminole County. Let's look at Seminole County, because that is totally within District 7.
7, right.
And it still is.
The
And
home
according
of
to
Corey
this,
Mills.
yeah, and according to this, they're supposed to be let's see, my screen kind of went away. According to this, the population in the 2020 census for Seminole County is 470,856.
Okay. Let me look at this. Let me look at this data packet. I will tell you what it says for Seminole there.
Yeah.
So District 10, we're looking at District.
We're looking at District 7.
All right, Corey Mills seat.
Yeah.
470,856.
That's what it says is the number?
Yeah.
So they're lying. They're lying right
Yeah.
there. They're actually saying, yeah, that's an actual lie. So they've been saying that they're using it based on, you know, so yeah, that is huge. So, hey, Kartik, say something again.
Well, DeSantis claimed population growth meant we needed a redraw.
Right. People are saying that the audio is off. Right.
How about now?
Okay. Well, I went ahead and lowered it down here. They said that it was really loud. So yeah. All right. So there we go. So we already know they're lying about like the data. They're using exactly the 2020 census data, which does not indicate any type of growth whatsoever. So there we go. We already know they're drawing it partisan because of what they showed on Fox News. We already know they're drawing it in a partisan way because they're not touching the first 7 congressional districts, only touching congressional districts that can take votes out of Democratic districts. They're not redrawing the state house and the state senate seats using growth, and the data that they're using is the 2020 census data, which does not indicate growth. Okay, so that's where we're at. Now, Kartik and I, and I guess we'll have to talk about this. Kartik and I have, so in the state courts, even though we're showing all these violations and can prove all these violations, it's probably not going to go anywhere in the state courts. You'd have to look at the federal courts. Now, Kartik has been talking about the Voting Rights Act. Now, I've made one argument, and I'll let Kartik make another or add or do whatever. I said that it's going to be hard for a Voting Rights Act claim to be made because if the Democrats' argument is just that Darren Soto loses or Kathy Castor loses or something like that, that's a partisan argument. That's not a voting rights argument. And my guess is, well, let's go ahead and look at these districts. Now that we have it on Dave's redistricting, we can see, I assume Darren Soto's district is still 9.
10? No, I think
9,
it has a
it's
new
at
number.
50. It's at 50% minority, which I think is. These are the old districts. Let me go.
11 would no, it would be 9. Yeah.
Yeah, his old district was 67.6%. His new district is 50.84. Maxwell Frost's district is now 64.17, which actually makes it a little bit more minority. I didn't know that. Well, there's so many Hispanic voters in Darren Soto's district. The one I was making the argument was for Kathy Castor's seat. The only problem I have right now is...
Which was a 50...
Well, I don't even know what Kathy Castor's seat would be considered in this map.
Right.
I mean, because they literally split downtown Tampa 3 ways. And see what they also did is they took St. Petersburg and put it into Bradenton, put it into Manatee County.
Right.
So
yeah, and that district goes all the way to DeSoto and to
right. There's Arcadia right there.
Yeah. Arcadia and St. Peter in the same district.
And takes the southern part of Polk County. Which
For those who don't know, there's been St. Pete was in a Pinellas County-based district all the way from the 1940s until 2022.
until
So they've already
until
messed with
Chris.
that.
Yeah.
Until Chris got beat. Well, didn't run, right? Because till Luna came in.
Right. Oh yeah, that's true. Well, 13 is still Pinellas only. But St. Petersburg, yeah. See,
But St. Petersburg is not in the seat, right? They've done it to crack Democratic votes.
Right. So if we go ahead and look at the partisan leanings, you can see right here, they're taking this big blue chunk and putting it into Bradenton, like you said. It's offset. They're also putting Sarasota. I swore Sarasota was they're diluting.
No, this was done. Okay, so this was done for political retribution reasons. We have a congressman called Greg Stubbe, who used to be in the legislature, who is personally does not get on with DeSantis. So it seems like that district has been drawn to force him into a primary with another Republican.
And that Republican could be from. I mean, I don't know what other.
Could even be from like Charlotte County, right, or Lee? Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
District 22, I think, is now getting a lot of attention. I made a big deal about the district that I just mentioned going into District 14.
Oh, yeah.
But it looks like on social media, District 22 is getting the attention because it's going from Marco Island all the way to Davie and Parkland. And this has been designed.
It does go all the way. Yeah, it has Parkland, but it goes all the way down to Davie and Weston, and so it takes out a huge chunk. And
I'd be curious to see.
Who would be the member of Congress for 20?
For 20 right now, that would be vacant. So someone that would be an open seat. 24, I think, would be. So by drawing 24 the way it's been drawn, that would be the seat where that would be where Luther Campbell, ex of Two Live Crew, who's currently running in a primary against Dale Holness, that's probably where he would have to run. 20, Dale Holness, other people running in that Sheriff-Lewis McCormick open seat could run there.
I mean, it seems like 23, that the new 23 would be Lois Frankel's seat.
Yeah, I realized that. So I had said
it's that 25 seat because it has that little part that juts out too.
Right, but that seat will probably elect a Republican. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe not this year.
Let's see what the partisan leaning is on 25.
My assumption is the former
25.
The state house member, Chip Lamarco will run in 25. Okay, let me look at the.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this. I mean, I know there's a lot of progressive stuff that are watching this, but that Senate District 25, if you're looking for an extremely pro-APAC Democrat, I mean, that is a district that a very pro-APAC Democrat could have, because you're not just up in Boca, you're down into Hollywood, and then you do get into Miami Beach. Okay.
Right.
So that could be a Jared Moskowitz seat there. He could be the only Democrat that actually wins that.
Right.
I mean, and that election is already baked in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see Moskowitz going anywhere else. So I mean, as of right now, what we have Kathy Castergon, we have Moskowitz. Okay. Kathy Castor's seat is drawn out.
Yes.
So we know that is gone. One of the two Orlando seats are out. Now, for the most intents and purposes, people are saying Darren Soto's seat, yes, but is there going to be a deal made? Because obviously, I think right now, if they were smart, Darren Soto and Maxwell Frost should be together right now talking to each other about the future of this. The seat 23 would be Lois Franco. The new vacant seat would be 20. But I think you would. But see, here's the thing about 20. Would you have a different type of candidate there? Because it doesn't seem like. What's the minority population of District 20? It's
That's a
69.
good.
It's
That's a good
69
question.
still. It's 69. So it takes enough of Fort Lauderdale in that area and yeah, Lauderhill and
Lauderhill is
Civic.
very
So
Jamaican.
Frederica Wilson's would be 24. So we're talking about Moskowitz out. We're talking about Castor out. We're talking about one of the two Democrats out in Orange County. And then I'm missing one more.
So we're Wasserman, Schultz, Moskowitz.
Yeah. I mean, Wasserman, Schultz, and Moskowitz would have to maybe. Yeah, I was going to think they both could probably run in there. Honestly, I think it would be who could out APAC the other. To tell you the truth.
In 25, you're saying?
Yeah.
I
mean, that goes from Hollywood and all the way up to. I mean. And it specifically has the coast of Hollywood, right? Instead of just like once you start getting in a little bit inward, it's the Jewish
and by the way,
not as
the
big, but on the coast is
the Dade County seats don't appear particularly more Republican than they did before.
Right.
So,
Diaz-Balart's is just more compact because it now doesn't go all the way out to Collier or whatever.
Right. So that's interesting. So they didn't try and shore up those incumbents at all.
So 22 becomes a new Republican district.
Potentially, yes.
Well, because who would it? Because if we're looking at 19 as Byron Donalds, and we look at 26 as Diaz-Balart, and those two.
22 is a new seat. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't know who else would. Yeah, because that area would have been either Diaz-Balart or yeah.
So District 9 is now a 58%.
From Ave Maria.
Yeah. You could right, or from Immokalee, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So Congressional District 9 could be effectively a 58% Trump seat, but if you notice. I guess they have the minority percentage just above 50 to try and win that VRA. In spite of DeSantis saying he wants to challenge the VRA, one of my initial reactions was that seat would be where you could make the challenge, but it still says it's 50.84 minority.
The only thing I have a question on is regarding the. Well, wait, let me see the overall populations here, so it's okay. Yeah. So I mean. Oh, let me go back to the. Yeah, so let's go back to the voting rights thing, right? So you were saying, so I was saying that it's going to be a hard argument because of, because I don't think the argument can be just because Democrats feel that they're going to lose it, therefore it's a Voting Rights Act violation. Now, right. You've talked about Osceola County and stuff like that. So, like, tell me what you think. Like, what?
So I think that there's a split in Osceola County, which is designed to take the westernmost portion of Osceola County, put it in a Polk County-based district, which is specifically done to dilute Osceola's voting power. Osceola is a majority-minority county. So look at District 9 and whatever the Polk seat.
I mean, because
let's look at the
Polk
seat next to it.
If you look at so it includes.
Actually, let me look at another map of this that I had taken. 18 would be the Lakeland base.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that they actually take out.
Yeah, they took out
Poinciana.
They take out parts of Kissimmee. They take out Celebration. They take out part of Four Corners, even though the dot on the map says Four Corners is outside that
It's
district.
at the Four Corners. It's
It's
on the Polk Osceola. Yeah, it's on the north south. Yeah.
Now Osceola is a small enough county where, not geographically, but population-wise, that it should be. You could argue, especially given the community of interest, it should be within one district.
Yeah.
So that was probably done for partisan reasons, because if you leave those areas in the Soto district, then he has a better chance of being reelected.
Maybe. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, so we do have these issues. So what do you think is the argument? Because to me, I mean, there are tons of arguments as far as state Supreme Court or state court, but it's
the state court. I think that Marco Island to Wellington seat or whatever the number was, 22. I think that's the clear argument in terms of VRA. Let's look at let's look at the Soto seat, but I also want to look at what they did to Kathy Castor's seat and try and absorb the lesson of them bringing District 15 from
so that's 12,
Citrus County.
Yeah, that's 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, District 15 from Citrus County down into Tampa, into the city of Tampa. It appears, right? The port of Tampa. Maybe this is quite going to the city of Tampa. Let me. It kind of gets close. Certainly, the northern part of I-4.
So somebody
east of Malfunction Junction is in a district that's anchored in Citrus County.
Yeah.
Man, how is this possible?
Right. That's why I was mentioning earlier that it takes that eastern part of Tampa. Now, someone in the chat did say that Darren Soto. I still don't think they get Soto out of that district. He has Puerto Ricans on lock. No, he doesn't. As somebody, Kartik, as somebody, I mean, I don't know about you, Kartik, but as somebody who knows Darren personally, it's not a lock. There's been times. I mean, I don't know if when he ran, he couldn't speak Spanish, or he had very little Spanish. I don't know if that's still the case. It's not a lock. And as a matter of fact, if you look at, Kartik and I can talk about the old days of John Q and stuff like that this was a district, at least at the legislative level, it was districts like this that looked like they should be Democratic districts, but then the Republicans won it. I don't think Darren Soto has lock on that. I hate to open this Pandora's box, but if somebody like, let's say, Vic Torres ran for the seat, I think he would have a better chance. But I don't know. But again, it's let's see, District 9 right now. I mean, it's now a 58%. Trump won it by 58%. So I don't see
that is true. But where you might see the biggest volatility in votes could be in that seat specifically in the state. That could be where you see the biggest bleed of Trump votes. Yeah.
But the problem is that the reason why it's more Republican now is they included all of Indian River.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Right.
That negates everything. Is now part of
how do these coastal communities feel about being drawn into seats with inland areas? I mean, that's got to be a thing also. I mean, it's very difficult to see how that would be
somebody who's from Moorhaven has a congressman who could be from essentially like Lake Nona.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at District 9, yeah. very much so. Oh, and you could have someone, if you look at the way 16 is drawn, you could have a congressman from Arcadia representing St. Petersburg. That's like the pork chop gang days when the state was malapportioned and they didn't want any representation from urban areas.
Right. I mean, 8 looks essentially the same. Yeah, see, because it's that splitting up of 14. Yeah, because they split up Tampa and they split up St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
Because that old district just used to be kind of like when they drew the districts before, they had the western side of Pinellas be Luna's district, and then the St. Petersburg chunk be part of Castor's. So now, not only have they broken the St. Petersburg part in half, they've split the Tampa part 3 times. So,
yeah.
I mean, the biggest loser of this whole entire thing, obviously, is Kathy Castor. She is the only one that we could probably say, without a doubt, does not have a seat if this goes through. I also think Kathy Castor has the best argument if you are going to make one in regards to the Voting Rights Act, because let's go back. Okay.
Yeah, because it looks like Soto does have a place he could run. It's not favorable, but he does have a place he could run. Moskowitz certainly has a place he could run, even though it's not favorable. He could run in District 25. And Wasserman Schultz, in theory, could run in 25 also, or could run in 20. Although where she lives is actually been drawn into District 26. Oh, this is another thing. So you're going to have in Southwest Broward County, you're going to be in Mario Diaz-Balar's district. You're going to be drawn into kind of a Cuban American Miami district. As Dave, you noticed driving on I-75.
What district?
26. As anyone who drives I-75 up from Miami-Dade County into Broward notices, the place changes immediately when you cross the county line.
Yeah, I didn't. Oh, yeah,
I didn't notice that till now either.
Yeah. So what Kardic's saying is just right in here, this northern part right here is part of Broward County.
Yes.
And this is part of Dade. So, yeah, so essentially, Diaz-Balart's seat just became more Democratic, but still, actually, I'm kind of interested to see what Trump did in District 26. Well, Trump got 58% in 26. I mean, we're talking about a district before because it went out to Collier. It's like easily safe for Diaz-Balart. So if there's any Republican that lost, it's Diaz-Balart. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of interested. 26 and 27 are about the same. If the Democrats have a strong year, then if the Democrats have a strong year, they could pull off those two. But those would be like the highest fruit on the tree, right? So Tim's in here, and he was saying that if Debbie Wasserman Schultz ran in 25 again, she would represent Miami Beach and Dade County beach communities, which she has in the past represented. Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be. It'll be interesting see if those two primary each other. How can this be legal without voting?
I don't know how a map that goes from Miami Beach. Think about the extreme high population of South Florida. A map that goes a district that goes from Miami Beach to Delray Beach meets compactness. Come on, I mean it's stretching across three counties on purpose. 25.
Oh.
To take in every Republican voter they can potentially take in.
Yeah, because whenever I've looked at the legislative seats that have been like that, they've usually been within Palm Beach or within Broward whenever they've done that. They've never done that in these. And we're talking about states, state Senate, but mostly state House. But I mean, but you mentioned 15 because I mean, you were talking about 15, right? That goes Citrus, Hernando, Pasco, and Hillsborough.
Yeah. Yes. That's absolute madness. And that district goes out to Dade City to pick up Republicans. So go just to the eastern part of Pasco, while they leave the western part of Pasco in District 12, which includes. Oh, sorry. No, yeah, District 12. What are the numbers in District 12?
I haven't.
57% Trump in that district.
So Florida Democrats are doing some sort of live stream. But like, but what are they doing? I mean, maybe you got some news on that front. It's like tonight, Florida maps are being redrawn, and we're fighting back. Join us in this live stream or whatever. It's like, okay, what are you doing though? Maybe they're gonna give some indication of what that is. But you know, this was a worry of ours, Kartik and I's, for a while, is that the Democratic Party is just going to be sitting there holding their dicks in their hands and not know what to do. And then the Republic, I mean, we already know we can't go the state route. For all we complain about as far as this being a partisan map, I guess you could try to go ahead and try to challenge it in the Florida.
Yeah, you have to challenge it because the constitutional amendment is clear as day. And
Right.
if the state Supreme Court wants to side with a governor who has decided he is a bigger constitutional law expert than the people who actually write the Constitution, and he has more moral authority than the voters of the state of Florida who voted to put that constitutional amendment in the Constitution with ballot language that was approved by the Supreme Court at that point, then they're just showing therefore autocracy and dictatorship in this state, really. But of course, he appointed 6 of the 7 Florida Supreme Court justices. He just pulled a legal maneuver where we had a candidate that was ready to run in a judicial seat, had that Republican appointed judge, Jeb Bush appointed judge, resign so we could appoint another one. So
well, this comes back to what we were talking about before. And what we were talking about before and what you mentioned is, unlike the other states, we do have this mechanism, which is, you know, fair districts, that does have a legal argument, which to me, if this isn't going to be fought in the courts, then it's got to be fought in the court of public opinion. Right. And in the case of Texas, it's unfair, but it was totally legal. In the case of everything else that we've seen, it's been totally legal. If this goes through and you challenge this all the way up to the state Supreme Court and the state Supreme Court says no, then you do actually have a rhetorical argument.
Yeah.
And you know what you do at that point? You start, and if, you know, well, actually, let's see, 2020. Okay, let's see. And if you have anything to jump in here. Okay, hold on, I want to check up something.
Yeah, I'm looking at district. So I don't think. Let me look at Jacksonville. What did they do with the African American community there? I guess they split them. Those are districts 4 and 5.
What Supreme Court?
Maybe that's a. Yeah, go ahead.
What Supreme Court justices are up for retention? That should be the fight for the Democrats.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at District 4. it looks like that's 44.67 minority. So that's the district on the west side of the St. Johns River. But they've taken in much of Clay County, which leans it Republican. Let me see what the
what now?
District 4.
Oh, they did change. Well, no, it's the same as it was.
It's the same, I guess. Yeah.
It's exact. That's why I'm saying every single district, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
1 through 7,
are all the same, which shows that it's a partisan thing. Because if it was a population thing, those would have naturally changed as well.
Oh, so the Orlando seat is now number 10. Okay.
Correct. Which I think was Frost's number.
Before, yeah, that was Demings and then Frost, right? Yeah. And then 9 was the Grayson Soto seat. Yeah. Okay, so they just packed all of urban Orange County. There's nothing you can complain about that, really. It's strategic how they packed it, but this, I guess, is the advantage of Democrats living effectively in urban areas, right? And heavily urban areas.
If you really want to look at it, the seat that Alan Grayson won in 2008 was a pretty Republican seat because it had Western Orange County, it had Lake County, went all the way up into Marion.
It went up to Marion.
Yeah, went up to Ocala. Yeah. So, Grayson, or really no Democrat had any reason to win that seat. I mean, to be honest, yet Grayson did. Okay.
Well, Obama was at the top of the ticket that year. The Democrats don't have that advantage.
No. I
kind of that advantage in the future ever, unfortunately. You know, it's not like the Democratic Party is producing great top of the ticket candidates, but your point stands. He won that seat, which included Lake and Marion,
right?
Which is drawn specifically to protect Rick Keller, because remember when Rick Keller first won, he beat Lyndon Chapin by very little, which was actually even a surprise. I mean, the expectation, the old District 8 had been a Democratic target. We knew once McCollum was out that was a seat we thought we could flip.
Yeah, and Chapin was expected to win, and she didn't. Yeah, that was a shock.
She didn't. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so they're trying to pack all the Orlando area voters. But South Orange has been thrown into a seat with Sumter and
just
Lake.
So you know, Kartik, my area, and a totally different related thing, my area has just gone moderate risk.
Ooh, you got one of the buzzer sirens?
No. But we are in a. We are in a 15% hatched tornado. And before yesterday it was just enhanced. But now we're at moderate. I'd usually go storm chase in these conditions. But it does look like I am under a tornado watch. So let me look at the tornado watch. Yeah, I'm under a tornado watch. So if I have to vamoose out of here, it's because there's a tornado coming.
Yeah.
Luckily nothing here now. I think it's just the beginning of the warning. So I just saw because I'm looking at everything out there, and it's getting darker. So yeah.
So if we have to jump, we have to jump. There's going to be a lot more to talk about with this map as we analyze it more, obviously.
Right. I mean, but it's funny because somebody mentions Andrew Gillum. I've mentioned this before. I mentioned in a chat with Kartik and I and some others. Andrew Gillum has gotten the closest to winning. I mean, I don't like him. Kartik doesn't like him. We don't like him, right? He still came the closest to anyone as far as winning the governor's race since Childs won it. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can't say, as much as people want to knock him, he's done something that almost every other candidate for governor has not been able to do. Almost win.
And he was able to. So you look at. I'm focused on Tampa Bay area. I mean, he was able to probably. We don't have 2018 numbers in front of us. I would guess he probably won won his District 14. He probably was competitive and won his District 12, and he was probably competitive and won his District 13. Now, of course, his District 16, which they've thrown St. Pete into, is, I mean, so the Democratic, the likely Democratic nominee for governor is, of course, Dave Jolly, who is from St. Petersburg, and who represented that district as a Republican. But that district was a Pinellas County only seat at the time, anchored in St. Petersburg, the same seat we had had since the 1940s, had been represented by Courtney Campbell, who was the brother of, by the way, the Florida State President, Joe Campbell, who the football stadium stands for, and then Bill Kramer, and then Bill Young. And then after that, Charlie Crist as a Democrat. It is a St. Pete seat that has been destroyed. And now St. Pete not only will not have any resident representation, but they could be represented by someone from Mayaca City or Arcadia.
Arcadia.
I mean, this is so for those of you out there that are national people, you probably know this is exactly what Tennessee Republicans did. They made sure that there was that Nashville didn't have a resident congressperson, drew all those districts into rural areas, made sure similarly Chattanooga could not anchor a seat, so there wouldn't be any prospect of a Democrat being elected there. And then in terms of what they did with Memphis, it's exactly what they've done here with Orlando. Put everybody in one seat, conceded that one seat, and said, okay, we're going to turn everything around it Republican, which they've done. So Tennessee's delegation is now 8-1 Republican.
Right.
Historically, it was like a 5-4 Republican map. There were times David and I remember when the Democrats had 6 seats in Tennessee, it was 6-3. But more recently, it was 5-4 Republican. They turned it into an 8-1 map.
Now I'm going to do something which I think might actually surprise people. I'm going to change this to the 2020 presidential race.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, that'll be.
And start looking at the South Florida seats.
Yeah, because I think they may have gotten too cute with 25, especially. Yeah. I'm still thinking that might elect the Democrat, in spite of it being a 10%.
And then technically, yeah, because 20 has just been shortened. So everyone, for a recap. So basically what we have now, Kathy Castor has been drawn out of a seat. One of the 2 Orlando area congressmen have been drawn out of a seat. So those are 2 missing. Whether it's Moskowitz or Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they're either both going to be drawn out, or one of them can possibly win in 25. Okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Lois Frankel seems safe. Frederico Wilson seems safe. And whoever now represents 20, as that's vacant now, they're going to be safe. Which then goes to like what you were saying. And I guess this is just our opinions. I mean, it's our opinion. Yeah, obviously. What is the best course of action for Democrats now? So we're saying Castor is gone. We're saying Frost or Soto, one of those, someone has to make up their mind. I think running in a primary would be very detrimental. Honestly, with Moskowitz and Wasserman Schultz, I think the best thing for them to do is run in a primary against each other, to be honest. Okay? Yeah. Because like I said, they're going to try to out APAC each other, and they can't run statewide.
Yeah, I mean, I still think, I know Tim mentioned that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is represented Aventura in Miami Beach. I get that, but I still think she's seen as such a partisan figure. She is certainly much more progressive than Moskowitz is. I mean, let's face it, Moskowitz is a nominal Democrat at best. She probably is ill-equipped to win that seat if she's the nominee. But actually, if she's the nominee, if she were to run in a primary against Moskowitz and beat him, that would probably stimulate higher turnout. Maybe higher turnout on both sides, unfortunately, right? She's such a polarizing figure. But, yeah, I mean, I think even from a South Florida perspective, regardless of what you think of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her backing of Hillary Clinton and what happened to Bernie Sanders, I know a lot of Sanders people really hate her nationally. For us as an area, losing her as a congressperson and being replaced by some flunky partisan Republican is not ideal
Now
for representation of this area at all.
Now I have thrown up the 2018 Bill Nelson race. I couldn't get the gubernatorial race, but they're just as close.
But basically the same.
No, I mean those all those South Florida districts go blue.
Yeah, I'm saying basically the governors and the Senate were the same.
Oh yeah. So if we have a replication of how the voting behavior has been, because let's be honest, it's really been Hispanics shifting over to the Republicans, which
Correct.
Now in special elections they're figuring out holy shit and they're shifting back. This could happen. Okay, and I even argued. Not argued. I'd make the joke with Kardec. I said back in 2020, I go, yeah, who are the voters that sit there and didn't vote for Trump in 18, but in 2020 are like, oh well, now we like him. A lot of second, third, fourth Hispanic generation Hispanic.
So this is where, when you look at also this new District 18. A lot of those voters that you're talking about were in places like Poinciana, in Osceola County, Davenport, and Haines City in Polk County. So what is the numbers in those seats? That seat is 57.8 Trump, 40.94 Harris.
Now I'm looking at
interesting. Look at that seat for
Which
2018. What was District 18?
Here, let me. Where's District 18? Oh, I see it. Okay, it's up there in Lakeland.
Yeah.
So in 2024, 18 was 57% Trump. I mean, now are we kind of getting to the point where they might be pulling in North Carolina? Maybe, because we have a lot of 57, 57, 56, 54, 56, 57, 57, 54, 56, 59. If we're looking at 5% swings, that makes those districts close. Now,
yeah.
If we go over to the presidential race in 2020. Okay. This was probably the last close year we could consider for Democrats.
Yeah, it was relatively close. I mean,
but it was relatively recent as well. It wasn't that far off, right?
Yeah.
We can see the 2020 race, District 22 goes blue, which I would think it would be friggin' funny if Marco Island was represented by a Democrat.
That would be hilarious. That would actually be karma. I mean, one of the most Republican places you can imagine.
Right.
So stuck in Republican places in the country, not just in Florida.
But even with the Trump result or the 2020 Biden results, we still see the Democrats locked out of Tampa. So that means, like, Kathy Castor is done.
She's the one that's
in Congress,
for sure.
Now, Kathy Castor is done. One of the two up there are done, but everyone here can kind of maybe stay. If Moskowitz runs in 22 and Debbie Wasserman Schultz in 25 or something, like, I don't think Debbie Wasserman Schultz could run in 22. That would be way outside her district. And to me, DWS does, I don't know, maybe you would know. She seems to do a little bit better, I think, with a lot of those coastal. Well, no, it's really a Broward and a Palm Beach.
Yeah, it's more West Broward. Yeah. So I'm trying to see what it does to. So District 22 would be a 51% Democratic district based on 2020. That would be the actual number. Let's look at 18. 18 didn't move as much as I thought it would. District 9 would be 46% Democratic, which I think would give Soto a shot. What else gets close here? 25 we wanted to check. 25 would be a 52% Democratic district based on 2020. Yeah. And then even all the Miami seats which we know there was a big trend towards Republicans in Miami in 2020, 49 in 26, 27 would be 49.51 for Biden, 49.74. That's where Elliot Rodriguez is running against Maria Elvira Salazar.
Yeah.
That would be a toss-up seat based on 2020 numbers. A seat where an election we think the Republicans won pretty safely. So we're not throwing out like Obama numbers here. We're throwing out a Trump race. Let's see what else would get close. Those Tampa area seats do not get much closer. Wow. Yeah, you're
no,
right.
Tampa doesn't move. To me, okay. I'm going to say something.
Well, Hillsborough County is really outside of Tampa become pretty bad for Democrats.
Now, I'm going to say something that people won't want to hear, especially people I know won't want to hear. I still, to this day, believe that there are people who would have problems with a former Republican running for governor who, I mean, we've already been down that road before.
Yeah.
I think Kathy Castor should either run for governor. She is not endorsed in that race. I looked it up because I was asking before. I looked it up. She is not endorsed in that race. Maybe this is why. Kathy Castor runs for governor or she runs for U.S. Senate. I think she could do better against Ashley Moody. Okay? Because you always have, if a guy gets up there and starts attacking a woman, it's like, oh, look at how they... But if you got Kathy Castor doing it on stage, I think it comes across better.
This is part of the strategy of DeSantis doing this at the last minute. Now, hopefully, the court challenges for derail this because he did it at the last minute. And even if they approve the map, they say, okay, you can't run on this map until 28. But the other advantage would be the Democrats have so locked themselves into Dave Jolly. Dave Jolly is one thing, right? I mean, he's a Floridian. He's, I think he was never terribly conservative. But Alex Vindman, who is not from Florida,
correct,
who I like, but let's just face it, credibly speaking, but you and I are foreign policy geeks, Dave. 99% of the population are not, so they wouldn't be as attracted to Vindman as we are. Kathy Castor against Ashley Moody. I mean, I like that the look of that. That's two women from Hillsborough County. Kathy Castor's actually been elected locally. She's actually represented Tampa. Her family is an institution in
and that her family's an institution that can help in Hillsborough.
Yeah,
because Hillsborough
now they'll of course
still
be
has
talk about her sister being the supervisor of elections in Orange County, and that's a conflict of interest. Republicans love to play that card.
Oh, you just redrew the maps and took her out of the district. Shut the fuck up, right? Hold on 1 second. But go ahead.
Yeah, so this will be their thing. They'll be like, well, her sister is the supervisor of elections in Orange County, so the Democrats are cheating again. Meanwhile, they can draw a map like this and say it's perfectly legitimate. So that would be one of the critiques. But yeah, I don't know how far along Vindman is. I know he's raised money well, but I don't know how far along he is in terms of voter recognition. Jerry Demings is a zero in this race, in the governor's race. Correct. Jolly, I think, is pretty far along. But the Senate race? Oh, gosh, I think we'd have a better shot with Castor. For sure.
See, the thing with Gwen Graham, people are mentioning Gwen Graham. She's already took herself out by endorsing Jolly, and I don't think you can. I don't think you can retract an endorsement. This might be the reason why Kathy
that doesn't stop her from the Senate seat, though.
Doesn't stop her from the Senate seats. Well, someone was talking about Tina Polsky and Gwen Graham running as a ticket. As far as Orange County. And I've talked to Kartik about this already.
Tino Polsky and Gwen Graham. Oh, for governor and lieutenant governor.
Yeah, for governor and lieutenant governor, right. That's why I was mentioning governor. Personally, I mean, this does seem like a demotion. To me, Maxwell Frost is the higher profile guy, and that is most of his district. Maxwell Frost runs for that. To me, Darren Soto should run statewide for attorney general.
Okay.
I mean, he is an attorney. He is a lawyer. He went to George Washington University. right? Got his law degree. So to me, I don't know who's running for attorney general, but I know Kathy Castor might have already endorsed somebody in that race.
So maybe JJR she endorsed
Ah, okay.
for attorney general. Now, in terms of Frost, the reason I threw out to you privately the idea of him running statewide until we saw how safe his seat is actually
Yeah.
was because he is the biggest rock star the Democrats have, right? I mean, he is. He's a national figure. Um, I think from a partisan perspective or an ideological perspective, you'd really want him in the U.S. Senate, but um, his seat is not in jeopardy here.
No.
Which it speaks to that you can only do so much with a map, because I think if there's one Democrat they probably wanted to get rid of, it was him. He's the national figure. Well, Wasserman Schultz to a lesser extent, but he's the guy who has the national following from Florida.
Right.
But the Orlando area, Orlando itself, is so Democratic. There's nothing you can do about it. But they've taken the Orlando suburbs, which are also Democratic leans, and thrown them into Republican districts based in other places. So let's as we look at this map, the other parts of Orange and Osceola County are all connected to districts that go, like you said, all of Indian River County is in that District 9.
And Okeechobee, Highlands County.
And Okeechobee, yeah. I mean, this is obscene. And then you look at part of Orange is in a seat. Where does this District 11 go? Let me look. It's Lake, I guess.
That would be Dan Webster, I assume. Because they kind of split up Dan Webster's seat a little bit, don't they? Because now it does. I mean, which makes sense. If any of you who don't know who Dan Webster is, I mean, he's a congressman there, but like, he doesn't even represent where he used to. Where he first,
he was from Ocoee when he was in the
when he was Speaker of the House, he was in Orange County, and was he in? I think he was actually technically Winter Garden, or was he? I think.
Yeah, same area, right? Western Orange County.
Yeah, Western Orange County. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and none of these guys can. So this is the other thing. No Republican can win in an Orange County seat. No Republican can win in any seat that's anchored in Orange County. So they've gotten cute with the lines.
Correct.
They've connected parts of Orange to Lake, parts of Orange to Volusia, parts of Orange to Okeechobee. And what they've done in Hillsborough, it's a little easier to do this. They shouldn't get away with it, but it wasn't that hard to break.
Yeah, but what makes it worse in Hillsborough is before they've basically done the opposite. Before it was you had it split in Orange County between Soto and Frost, so you had two districts. But then what you had in Hillsborough and Pinellas is you had it all anchored in St. Petersburg and Tampa. Now what they've done is they've anchored everything into a Pine Hills district, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And then, but on the other hand, they split up Pinellas and Hillsborough.
Look, I think you and I have talked about this privately. These northern parts of, actually even, it looks like Maitland might even be in, no, Maitland is in the Frost district. But the southern parts of Seminole County, Altamont Springs now is just as Democratic as any part of Orange County. And even places like Lake Mary, Heathrow, and Seminole County, they are not favorable to Republicans. Currently.
Heathrow has started becoming. I mean, let me go ahead and show my.
But of course, by connecting this to Volusia County, and Deltona in particular. So District 6 will be a very Republican district regardless.
So yeah, like Heathrow went 55 to 45 for Harris. So I got my precinct map up here now.
Yeah.
And yeah, and what you're seeing also is the areas that are right around the Dan Webster Parkway, ironic in this case, are not strong. I mean, they are kind of the newer money, younger, more progressive, higher income earners, the programmers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're starting to see them around here. So Kartik, I'm going to have you, I need to do something for 2 minutes. I have to help somebody get something here. I need to do something for 2 minutes. So can you hold the fort while I'm,
yes.
Are you doing
so
Okay.
what I'm also looking at is, if you look back, we mentioned the 2018 U.S. Senate race where Bill Nelson lost in a recount, a ballot irregularities in Broward County. If you look at that particular race, and again, Florida's changed a lot. We've had all these people from Long Island and exurban parts of Michigan move into the state who are more Republican. But if you look specifically at that race, every single one of the seats in South Florida, uh, 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 not District 21, which is the Treasure Coast seat, that would presumably be Brian Mass, but 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 20, and 27 go Democratic. So, for example, if we look at the seat where, um, let me pull this up because I know this is of specific interest to some of you. The Maria Elvira Salazar seat, where the presumptive Democratic nominee is Elliot Rodriguez, the former Channel 4 news anchor. That seat would actually be a Democratic seat based on the 2018 numbers by about 9 points. So that's worth noting. The Diaz-Balart seat would go Democratic in that scenario, as would the um, as would the Jimenez seat. And then you also have a situation where districts 22 and 25 are going pretty heavily are pretty safely Democratic. So that is the danger here for the Republicans. Now, um, part of the hubris of Ron DeSantis is he's convinced that all that came before him was, um, even though Florida has not elected a Democratic governor, the only state east of the Mississippi not to elect a Democratic governor this century. Ron DeSantis's hubris partly tells him anything that came before me doesn't really count. I realigned Florida. I made it the most Republican state in the country. All of this is not true. It was the most Republican state east of the Mississippi in since the year 2000, basically. If you take out presidential elections, where you can recall we had a particularly talented candidate in Obama in 8 and 12, and in 2000, Al Gore ran a really good campaign in Florida. John Kerry did not, and he got beat pretty badly in Florida in 2004. So, part of DeSantis's hubris would be they would not have looked at 2018 or really 2020 with this map. History started with 2022 when he won, admittedly, in a huge landslide, huge shock that the gap. But let me throw up what I've done with the map. And show it to you guys on the live screen. If I put in 2018, this is what South Florida looks like. So that's worth noting. And let me go up to the Orlando area. Well, the Orlando area, they still have 9 as a Republican seat. But if I use those numbers, District 9, I guess District 9 would still be a 53% Republican seat based on that. So, yeah, I guess Darren Soto has an uphill battle is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, if you flip the South Florida seats to a 2018 or 2020 model, suddenly they're much more competitive. And in fact, as I was saying when you were gone, Dave, 2018 model flips all the Dade County seats to the Democrats. The Jimenez seat, the Diaz-Balart seat, the NES seat.
I will have to leave for like another 1 minute and then come back. I thought the person I was waiting for is here, but they're not. But yeah, like if we look here at the voting trend dashboard here, you can see that it was a D+2 district in the presidential race. Okay.
Which seat are we talking about?
Darren Soto's seat.
Yeah.
So it's not, and it's mostly been because these precincts right here, which used to be the precincts here, Buenaventura Lakes, up and down OBT, and up and down John Young Parkway, all used to be like Democratic district or precincts that would go into the 60%. Now they've gone into the 50%. And it's been like it's been like that too.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, but we are talking, like you mentioned, we are talking about. I mean, the last two political climates have not been great, but I do want to mention this because I've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it again. I don't know if I've talked about it in a video before or if I've just talked about it with you, Kartik. But the reason that the Democrats have done so bad the last two cycles, 2022 and 2024, particularly 2022, it was a turnout problem. It
Yeah,
wasn't a
yeah.
persuasion problem. It was Republicans turned out by large amounts. Well, let me go. Actually, let me go back to my map that I have here. Okay, I'm actually going to have to. Or no, wait, hold on a second. Let me go to my map here. I got to just change to 2022. Okay, so when we go to the 2022 governor's margins, if we look at, I'm just going to go to Orange County. If we go to Orange County and look at the turnout in Orange County, it was 46.5%. But if you go to some of these very, very blue counties, you had turnouts of 28%, 28%, 28%, 34%, 36%, 39%. You go to some of these very, very Republican counties, even in like Pasco County, let's go to some very Republican
Let's
precincts.
go to Northern Pinellas. That might
Or
as well
Northern
be Pasco
Pinellas,
at this point.
yeah,
Yeah,
and there I am, Palm Harbor, 64%, 67%. Let's go into Tarpon Springs, 51, but 64%, 63, 64, 63, 57%. Those are higher than 28%. So the reason DeSantis won, to me, and Trump as well, was a turnout differential between the two. We are
yeah.
seeing in special elections that's starting to flip. That's starting to go the other way. Oh, Matt's on here. Welcome, Matt. Actually, yeah, that's well. Wouldn't Bill Arrakis? Okay, I got to go for a second. Do you think Bill Arrakis would just go in 12, and
Probably.
then Luna
I
would be
think that
13?
looks like a more natural seat for him. Look, even if you pull out the composite 20 to 24 election, let's see how this affects the map. So let's combine for purposes of arguments. Um, we'll take 2020. Let's see how this uh, shapes it. Okay, so actually, if you do a composite of 20 and 24, it combines. It puts the map back where it is, where DeSantis intends it to be. But let's look at the margins in some of these seats. So I think the Tampa Bay area, we kind of concluded through the course of this live stream, is hopeless with the way this map has been drawn. And for those of you in St. Pete, you might be represented by someone from Arcadia. Um, but the governor claims this map has compact districts. And for those of you in parts of Tampa, around USF, you might be represented by a congressperson from Inverness. But of course, that's intentional. But if we go, so let's forget about the Tampa Bay area for now. District 9. Oh boy, District 9, it would still give it a very, very Republican lean based on a composite number. Now, wait a second. I'm not sure I did this correctly. Maybe these are the wrong numbers. Hang on. Um, because what I'm seeing is, if you look at 2018 and 2020, in particular, the South Florida districts, and more than any, the Dade County districts, there's a heavy lean towards the Republicans, towards the Democrats. So if you actually, if you actually, okay, so this is including the 2022 governor's race, which I don't necessarily want to do.
See, one thing I was thinking with Bill Arrakis, what Matt mentioned with Bill Arrakis, I just came back, so now I'm back.
Okay.
It would technically, Bill Arrakis, like along with his father, were always North Pinellas County.
Right.
But I guess it doesn't matter because, like I said, Daniel Webster was Orange County, and now he's like Sumter, right? So I
Yeah.
guess it doesn't really matter. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, 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 no. That's fine because I'm trying to figure out what the map looks like if we take a composite of 2020 and 2024. How the R plus 10 seats that have been drawn become effectively R plus 5 seats. Um, except in the Tampa Bay area. Yeah, it seems like the Tampa Bay area, the only remedy is to get the map thrown out.
Yeah, Tampa's done. Tampa's cooked.
Yeah.
It's baked in. Orange County and so Central Florida. Anything along I-4 is done. Um, only 10 survives. I don't even see how 9 survives. And yeah.
Now, 9. Okay, so if we look at more of a composite, yeah, 9 is still it's still like a 7-point Republican seat.
Yeah, because I bet if even if we go to even if I go to the US Senate race in 18, I bet it still
12,
stays red.
thir-
It still stays red. I mean, it's very
12, 13. Yeah, they drew it into Indian River County. They drew it into Okeechobee County. There's
and Highlands
nothing,
County,
and Highlands County. Oh
Sebring
my
and all
goodness,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Now, District 16, where is that? That gets a little closer. If you look at
that's the one that goes into St. Pete and then goes to Arcadia.
Oh, right, okay, that's yeah.
So it's that St. Pete part that does that. It dilutes DeSoto and is that Hardy County? I always get Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy and DeSoto are in the same seat as St. Pete. And again, I have to stress this: St. Petersburg,
right?
from the 1940s till 2022, St. Petersburg basically had its own congressional district. It was a big enough place relative to the population of this state to have its own seat. And they always had resident Congress people who were from St. Petersburg specifically, not even from Pinellas Park or Dunedin. So, I mean, this is really outrageous because St. Petersburg is more or less the most, I don't know if it's the most democratic city in the state, but it's the most liberal city in the state.
No,
so it's been done on purpose, very clearly.
Matt was talking about how he didn't want to get that maybe Bill Rackus doesn't want to lose the Greek tarpon roots, which I understand, like the sponge ducks and all that. Could Luna go into 16?
She'd have to live in St. Pete, but whatever.
Well, no, I mean,
yeah,
she could live. I mean,
her craziness would play well in places like Arcadia, and although
she could live in Seminole.
Although Luna has been now pretty kind of aggressive.
She's been fringy lately. Or
yeah,
always.
She's been aggressive about Republican men. Right, she's been aggressive about Republican men, and the misogynists may not like her anymore. Right, they may not like the fact that
she's also been like way more MAGA in a district that you probably might not want to be that.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, I'm getting them confused. Has it been Nancy Mace or has it been Anna Paulina Luna, who's basically
no? Nancy Mace has been all the man hater. Yeah.
Okay, so she's the one who wants Corey Mills to go, not Luna. It's one of the two. Maybe it is Mace. Then it has no impact on this, because basically when Sherfilis McCormick resigned and you thought she was done, these people that the resignations were done. She said there's one more that needs to go, and then everyone realized she was talking about Corey Mills, who is a Republican. But
and what I do find interesting is that I think in all of these composites and stuff like that, Mills district stays that way. Sorry, hope I'm
yeah. Well, look, that's because it looks like they brought enough of Volusia. There's enough of Volusia on that seat.
That's what
I mean, remember, that was a Democratic district when it was a Seminole Orange seat. It was Stephanie Murphy's district, and it was It was drawn in a partisan manner in 2022, deliberately, in order to elect this guy or elect a Republican to unelect Stephanie Murphy.
Right, because I have it in my ratings as a +6, R +6. So the voter registration there, but still, it's one of those that NPAs determine the balance of power because you got 30% Democrats, 38% Republicans, but 32% NPAs. A lot of those NPAs are in Seminole County and actually more likely probably go Democratic.
Right.
Yeah, I mean it is because it doesn't go up into Daytona Beach. It's just New Smyrna Beach. It's Deltona. It's not even DeLand, right? So it's just Deltona and yeah, DeBerry, and then all of Seminole. I mean, Seminole as a county in general was a +2, which is another reason.
Yeah.
You know, this is why I don't have any hope in the Democratic Party. Rachel Placon has no opponent against her. Okay. Jason Brodeur has no opponent against him. These are people who, if you want to talk about the lowest of hanging fruit in the state legislature, these two seats are the lowest of hanging fruits. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
sorry, I all of a sudden started coughing all of a sudden. I'm just going to show people the website here. And I want people to know I'm going to be doing district ratings for Florida particularly. So I'm at the congressional map. That's obviously going to be changing now. But
Right.
if we look at the state Senate, we have right here Jason Brodeur in an R+1 district. This is easily a pickup. And in the state house, we actually have Rachel Placon's seat, which is R+2. This is low hanging fruit. As a matter of fact, and see, this is what I don't understand. In the state legislature, there are a ton of districts that can flip over to the Democrats. A ton in Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties. Why not redraw those maps? Why redraw only the congressional maps? So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, like how does that not make sense? Right?
Yeah. Well, then that shows that it's not about growth. And as you and I talked about at the beginning of the stream, you know, they're using the 2020 census data. They're not even using data that represents growth. There's so many holes. Hopefully people will watch this video and sometime in the future. There's so many holes that can be shot into this thing. But yet, doesn't matter. Right?
I mean, are there going to be any courageous judges out there? And I think one of the big questions is, what is the more effective legal strategy? Is it? I think you have to go both state case and federal case. State case based on the Fair Districts Amendment, federal case based on the VRA. Which one has a better chance of success? And I do think, as we talk about the VRA, in spite of however we're analyzing it here, districts 9 and 18 have to be looked at, and how those were drawn.
Well, again, I think your main argument is why we're okay, because I think it's two things. You're arguing that it is, if you're the Democrats, you're arguing that it's partisan, but you're also arguing that DeSantis said he was doing it because of growth. So your two main arguments is, if it's not partisan, why didn't you touch districts 1 through 7? Okay, but you touched every other district that impacted a Democratic district. All right, so that's the first thing. The fact that 1 through 7 is not even changed at all shows that it wasn't. It was a partisan change. The second thing is, again, if you are saying it's for population growth, why are you doing 2020 census numbers? How could you even, you can't account for growth unless you have statistics that's then talking about growth. So I think that's where the true arguments come in. Now, back to the voting rights thing, because somebody's asking about it. I'm just going to bring up what I say, which is that the Republicans will argue, well, what do you consider a violation of the Voting Rights Act? That you guys don't win? That's going to be the argument. But even with that, Kartik, with that being said, said, I want to
Yeah.
say that the districts, with the exception of a few, I mean, because take 26, 27, 28, the minority representation is huge because they're all Cuban, right?
Right.
Um, but most of the ones in Central Florida have been diluted significantly. And actually Frost increased a little bit by 2%, but
Well,
Soto's
they were
went
trying to
down.
pack people into that district. That's why.
I think the biggest argument that you have is for is more for Castor's district than anything.
We don't even know which district number that would be now.
Right, right.
Which of the districts would be the Castor seat
And then
because they
you'd
did such a thorough job. I guess it would technically be 14. I guess no, but that would be the
I
Laurel
would
Lee
say
seat,
more
so it would be 12.
it'd be I'm thinking it would be more 12, and then that's not even it because it goes into Newport Richey and Hudson and all that area of well, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it does have Hudson. Okay, I was thinking Holiday. Hudson's in the north, Holiday's in the south. Um, but yeah, I mean, this would be the only one. But again, I
Can
think
you
the biggest
imagine
argument
Kathy
is
Castor having to run in Newport Richey and Hudson? Oh,
which used to be Democratic. I mean, Deb Pruitt
yeah,
was there
once
and
upon
stuff like that. I mean, it was
yeah.
Democratic. That's about. I think Deb Pruitt might have been the last Democrat that actually held
Right, and
Pasco.
when she lost to Fiorentino, she lost by like 20
Right.
seats, 20 votes.
Because when Zimmerman
13.
won, he was only in Pinellas County, right?
Yeah, he had
Right.
that extreme northern Tarpon
Yeah.
Springs, but
Yeah.
he only lasted one term also.
Did his
I'm
even
looking
go
at
up to
12.
Tarpon, or was it more like Safety Harbor,
Oldsmar.
Clearwater? Yeah,
No, it did go to
Oldsmar.
Oldsmar. Oldsmar, maybe it did, yeah.
Yeah.
15 comes into the Tampa Bay area. That could technically be Castor's seat.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's, well, no, that wouldn't be the Bill Rockus seat. That would be the old Rich Nugent seat, whoever has that now.
Yeah.
I don't know who's in that district. I can't even tell you who the congressman is there. No idea.
No, there was one. I was doing some stuff. There's one congressman. I don't know who it is. Franklin?
Probably that seat. Franklin is in, wait a second.
He's one of them. There's like two of them. I have no idea
Is
who
he
the
in
hell
Polk
they
County?
are.
Is he the Polk County rep now? Franklin?
Maybe he is. Yes. Laura.
And who
Okay,
has
Laura
that?
Lee's is okay. Gus Bilirakis. This would be Daniel Webster's. This Kathy Castor. Then Vern Buchanan. Well, see now, Vern Buchanan's not running for re-election, and I wonder if Luna will then run for his seat.
Well, she could. I mean, if she wants to move.
I mean, she's got to move down the street. I don't know where she lives. I mean, she doesn't have to move. Ask John Micah and Bill McCollum. she doesn't have to move.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Randy Fines.
Yeah, they lived in each other's district, Micah and McCollum.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mike Herodopoulos is a congressman. He was out of politics for a while until he came back in. Because he was Senate president, and then he like kind of went away, and now he's back.
The thing is that these Republicans in Florida never go away because they control every element thing of government. So they give people contracts, they give people jobs. You could be, as long as you are a Republican elected official in Florida, you'll be taken care of. And they're a party that is really dependent on cronyism. So,
I mean, I think, see, so we're talking about the South Florida ones. With the exception of 28, I think all of them could be within reach. 25 could be within reach. We saw the 22 one could actually. 27 looks winnable. 26. See, what I think, okay, Diaz-Balart's obviously a big name, right? So, get his brother to run against him. I mean, I think in Diaz-Balart's seat, you kind of maybe try to run some outsider, because if you're gonna try to do an insider family name versus family name, I don't think you're gonna beat a Diaz-Balart in
That's
that
true.
district. So do somebody who's totally like, hey, I'm not someone from a well connected family and stuff. Um. So yeah. Yeah. Soto's out. I mean, Soto's out because if you're gonna, you gotta fairly give number 10 to you gotta fairly give number 10 to Maxwell Frost. And one thing that
Okay,
I've
so Soto,
noticed
so
is, well, Soto's going to be one of the people on the only congressman that's going to be on that live stream with the Florida Democratic Party tonight.
interesting.
I mean, to me, Soto should right now, he's done. Unless you can, I mean,
Well, unless you win a lawsuit, right? And
unless
that's
unless you win a lawsuit.
so. I'm
But
even looking
see,
at kind of, you look at a composite here, 26, 27, and 28 all turned into competitive seats. If you do some composite look, the three Dade County seats all turned competitive. Now they all still have a slight Republican. I mean a slight Republican lean in two of them.
which
The
composite?
Jimenez, 20 and 24.
Okay, I'm doing that, and I just see it still looks like the
Maybe I
Homestead,
had the
and
wrong one up.
yeah, it still looks like the Homestead to Key West one, the Monroe
Yeah,
County.
that one is still Republican. That one
Yeah.
is still Republican in this. Uh,
But
now
also
that
shows
would be
that 22. That 22 just might take, because okay, Parkland is, would you argue that Parkland is probably the most Republican, or well, what about Weston?
in Broward, those would be the two. It's
Yeah.
between those
Oh yeah,
two.
and they're both
Yeah.
in the same district, right?
Right. Yeah, that there's a reason for that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This wasn't, drawn with absolute partisan intent.
Well, see, okay, here's an example. 22 drew those into a district with Marco, with Marco Island, so that you can go ahead and shorten Diaz-Balart's district, which then will bring in parts of South Broward. That's what they did.
Yeah. Yep. You're right. Yep. So then they're linking all of the Republican areas together because they realized the Republican plus 10 number in that district, based on the last election, is probably a false number, a one-off number.
Yeah. Well, now there is another option. And actually Matt talks about it here, and I think it's a good option to talk about. And other people have mentioned Indiana. Okay. As you and I know, Kartik, especially in Florida politics now, the big battle isn't between Democrats and Republicans. Since Jeb Bush, it's been who's with the governor and who's against the governor.
Right.
Right? Is there, and we both said the legislature is going to lie down. Is there a possibility that this could be defeated in the legislature? Could there be enough that say, I'm not going to risk myself? See, like, okay, like if I'm Jason Brodeur right now, I say I vote, if I want, the Democrats don't have anyone running against me, I'm going to go ahead and vote no on this thing, because it's going to make me look like a bipartisan person. That's going to make me beat a Democrat if they ever run a Democrat against me. Okay. So I can see people like Brodeur voting for it, like other members voting against, or excuse me, voting against it. What do you think? Obviously, the Panhandle Republicans don't lose anything. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go over to my state Senate map. Okay. So let's see. You have Jason Brodeur. Well, Brian Nathan, he now has that seat. You know, you do have a few Republicans, even down south. Like District 38 in the state Senate is up. And that one could be a flip. And that is in where a lot of these changes are going to happen. That basically overlaps with 27, right? 27. So could this thing actually be stopped in the legislature? Like Corey Simon's district's close, but he's not up for re-election this year, and he'll just do whatever the Republican.
That area, the trend is the other way, right? So
right, he'll just do whatever the Republican Party tells him to. That's how he got there in the first place. So Will is saying you only need 10 GOP senators to vote with the Democrats. I don't know if there are 10 there.
No. Probably aren't. The House, you would need 27. Now, the other thing that could happen is if the Republicans really don't want to see this map, they somehow kill it, and they kill it before it gets to the floor. They kill it in committee tomorrow.
Right. So it's because it is going to go to the committee. Interesting, which I think Don Gates is the chairman of the committee that it's going to in the Senate. Right. So you have Don Gates. That'll go through committee. But it's like, how is it going to just be rubber stamped in committee? I guess that's the way you're going to determine it based on how the debate actually goes.
Right.
Yeah. I do see a few senators vote no. Because I just
I think a few will. But it's not going to be enough. And they would have all talked to each other, so they know who's voting which way.
Right, State Senate District 18. Right, see, that's another thing. And this is one thing that people have to keep in mind as well. And this is something I wish the Democrats knew how to do. The Republicans already know the next 5 steps.
Right.
Democrats haven't even figured out what to do right now. They're going to have they're going to have a call on Zoom or whatever with talking about how this is bad. Well, what are you doing legally? What is your, I mean, I'll maybe watch that, but if you're just going to have a bunch of rhetoric about how this is unfair, and you know what it reminds me of, Kardik? It reminds me of the movie Recounts, when Kevin Spacey's character, who was that? God, why am I having a name? Ron Klain, right?
Yeah.
When Klain is sitting there saying, hey, we got to fight, we have to fight. And Warren Christopher's like, no, we got to do this way and that way and stuff like that. And it's like the Democrats just fundamentally do not know how to fight. Now, I'm just going to say this to Democrats right now. If you're going to want to be involved in this political world that we have in the United States right now, you better learn how to fight, be nasty, and go where no other people have ever gone before. Otherwise, you're not going to win.
Yeah, exactly. And give me just a moment. I have to take a bathroom break.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to close it up here soon too. So, go ahead. So yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know, in people in the chat you can mention, has there been any news about anything? I know Kardik, before we got on, said that DeSantis was saying something. But I don't know. I'm going to go back to the Orlando Sentinel, see if they've said anything. So there doesn't seem to be much there. No, but the difference between Virginia and this is Virginia still went to the voters, right? Virginia went to the voters in this situation. Honestly, I would love to see this go to the voters of Florida. I'm not necessarily sure that they would vote for it. I'm not saying they would vote against it, but I'm not necessarily sure they would vote for it. So, but at the end of the day with Virginia, it's a little bit different of a system. Did go to the voters. Same thing with California. It went to the voters. Utah was a court decision. Ohio, Texas were all done in the legislature. But Ohio and Texas was both of theirs were done in the legislature within the framework of what is allowed constitutionally. This is actually against the framework of what is allowed constitutionally. That's why this video is the title of it is The Illegal Map. As we've talked about at the beginning of this video, and I'm not going to go through it again, I've already talked about the legality of this map and how it just is not legal. No, so, okay, right. I mean, in Florida, you do need the 60% for a constitutional amendment. But if you still have a majority of people say no, I mean, it doesn't matter. You can't get it. You can't get anything on the ballot before the next election anyway, right? But if you could get a majority of the people to say no, whether it passes or not, that becomes kind of like the argument. Someone mentions something about the ads in here. I do streams and do these videos not for charity work. I got to pay bills. Then I'll wait for Kartik to come, and then we'll probably end the stream for today, because I was right at the beginning of I finally finished the script for my California political history video, election history video, and then DeSantis has to pull this and start running this. So I need to get back to doing the work that I was doing on the California video, which probably, honestly, this redistricting has kind of sucked a lot of the energy out of me. Hopefully that should be out in a few days for people who are on my history channel. Nikki Fried also has to let independents vote in our primaries. Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I believe 100% that the Democratic primary should be opened. Absolutely. Well, I mean, see, I don't know if it's considered semi-opened or semi-closed. Because you just don't have Republicans. I mean, I don't care if Republicans, I honestly don't care. Honestly, from a strategic point, it makes sense for Republicans to vote in Democratic primaries. And I'll explain why. The Republicans, for all intents and purposes, will probably have a competitive primary, unless there's an incumbent, right? More than likely will have a competitive primary. The Democrats might also. So if you have both Republicans and Democrats having a competitive primary, and you find Republican voters deciding to vote in the Democratic primary instead of the Republican primary, then all of a sudden you see what Republicans, you can start identifying what Republicans might be more Democratic. This was what people were talking about with Texas, going, well, Republicans just vote for Jasmine Crockett over Talarico because they think that Talarico could win and stuff like that. No, they have their own extremely important primary going on. They're not going to sacrifice their primary to vote in a Democratic one. You're just not going to do that. I have had problems with, I think, every single chair. I've had problems with every single chair since Karen Thurman. So anyone besides the chairs that have been around since Karen Thurman, I think anyone else would have been better. So yeah, I think that they've been, not to say they weren't bad people. I mean, Rod Smith, from a political point of view, I think is fine. I just wouldn't vote for him. I just don't want him to be Florida Democratic Party chair. Um, but what we're seeing here, to me, we'll see how the party responds. Now the problem, and maybe Carter can chime in on this. To me, at least, the problem with the Florida Democratic Party is they focus so much on trying to raise money, they don't focus on trying to figure out how to win. I mean,
Yeah,
that's my thought.
my historic critique of them is that they don't look at numbers, they don't understand demographic changes. They were so dependent on national money and national support through the years that I don't think they quite understood how to organize locally. They let DECs and Democratic clubs become glorified debating societies. Now, when I talk to Republicans, they say the same thing about their own party.
Right.
But there's been a discipline and an organization and a structure.
Except you know where the discipline has really been strong, I think, from just outside observation as far as the Republicans, Miami-Dade County. They really know how to organize those Cuban American neighborhoods. And they have like true organizations where they're trying to bring in new people and get new people involved. Whereas if you go into some Democratic Party club, probably in Broward County, it'll probably be the same 50 people who have been there the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and they're glorified debating societies, and they'll just sit and whine about, well, back in the day,
but they don't
George
want
W.
to
Bush.
expand it.
No.
See, that's what it is. It's not that they don't expand it. It's they don't want to bring in new people. That's what I found with Democratic clubs. So, yeah. But they worry too much about raising money. And I've always wanted to move back to Florida and run for Democratic Party chair, because my whole platform would be the way you raise money is by having a plan to win.
Right.
That's, why would anyone invest money in a party that has no plan to try to win? And I've never seen a plan.
Right.
The Democratic Party, for at least the last, I mean, I hate to throw names out there, but I will say it, since Christian Olvert was the, I mean, I'm not talking about him right now, but when he was running, well, he wasn't running House Victory. He was the political director of House Victory.
One of the he was.
Yeah, I mean,
he was effectively running it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, who was running it at that time? I don't know.
Even tell.
But the problem is they were so reactionary. So like something would happen in this district, they'd then all of a sudden run to this district, and then something would happen in this district. They would all run over to that district. Eileen Game, who almost won, was a candidate that I and a few other people recruited to get to run in a district she didn't even win. She almost won because the guy that she was running against was involved in a sex scandal, right? Which is why you always want to have candidates running in every single district. But that was another thing. They weren't even looking at District 42, which, by the way, had a plurality of Democrats registered, if you remember, Kardik.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, once the Mike Horner stuff comes out, they all of a sudden are focusing on that. That's a problem. They don't have like a game plan. And right now, the fact that the Democrats do not have anyone against Jason Brodeur or Rachel Placon, to me, is a nightmare. And I don't know who to blame for that. Do you blame the state party? Do you blame... I wouldn't blame... I'd blame Senate victory a lot more than House victory, right? Because House victory has like so many seats that it was so little staff that they have to deal with. When it comes to Senate victory, you have half the Senate seats, and most of those aren't competitive, right? So you only have to narrow it down. Do I blame like?
And there was a accommodation the Democratic leaders used to make with the Republican leaders in terms of what seats they would actually target on the Senate side. I know this. I do know this, that they used to do this. So basically, like, well, that seat's not really ours. And I know of an instance where the Democratic leader tried to get a Democrat out of a race in the state Senate because they had promised that seat to the Republicans. Now, I don't think this has happened on the House side. I think the House side has been, the Democrats running the House victory have been far more kind of competitive. But maybe they pulled their punches. Maybe the consultants who depend on lobbying contracts from Republican-leaning entities have pulled their punches. So you have a lot of people who are political consultants for Democratic candidates who then also lobby the legislature, which is run by Republicans, and work for corporations that are Republican-leaning and hire these people as lobbyists. So this is how we've gotten in the cycle, this never-ending cycle of losses since the late 90s.
Well, and you've mentioned it with like sugar money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've talked about how it really isn't about, the people who we should be going against. You walk into the Democrat. I think we've had this. I don't know if it's you or somebody else walking into the Democratic headquarters and you see like hats from sugar and stuff like that on the desks of people.
Oh, I saw it, but it was pointed out to me to go in and look for it. So someone else told me first. Oh my goodness, they got sugar. They're bragging about sugar money, and so I then went into the headquarters on Brownell and saw this and was just kind of outraged.
Are the headquarters there anymore?
I don't think so. I don't know where they are.
So yeah, no, that wasn't the place. Was that the old?
The Toll House was sold.
Right,
the
Toll House
was sold. Denny firm.
Right,
because they needed to raise money.
I mean, that says something right there. You got to raise the tradition. I mean, how long was that the Democratic Party headquarters?
Forever, like back to the 30s or 40s.
Yeah. And, I was lucky enough to be there a number of times. It was a nice old house.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. But yeah, that just shows where the Democratic Party is. No, I can't run for anything in Florida because I don't live in Florida. I live in Illinois. Hopefully I'll live in Florida if I don't live in France. All right, Kartik, I think, well, I wanted to ask you something before we go, was because I remember you were looking up, you were saying DeSantis was saying some things or whatever. Do you have any updated anything regarding what is being said at all?
Yeah, so DeSantis has apparently sent out a long memo justifying this. And let me see if I can find that again.
Yeah, if we can. Yeah.
Let's see if I can find that statement from DeSantis. In any event, he was giving various justifications, and basically, to paraphrase, it looked like he knows more, right? He always knows more than everybody. He knows more than the lawyers that wrote laws. He knows more than the only people he'll ever defer to are the founding fathers, right? He knows more than everyone. He's the smartest man in the room. And,
right.
When we in Florida don't do something he likes, well, you should look at the passion of Boston Red Sox fans, because we know, like, New Englanders are so passionate, right? Because he went to school up there. He likes to lecture us. So to paraphrase this 4-page memo he sent out, basically he was saying that minority access districts and the Voting Rights Act are not constitutional, and he's challenging it with this map. Now, he does not, and he's also saying that the state law, the Fair Districts law, violates federal law. Now, this is quite a leap, because I guess I thought in the past he tried to use the in that last map, 2022, the standard of compactness to argue that there shouldn't be these Democratic seats. Now he's trying to argue compactness, as we see with all the seats we've gone through the last 2.5 hours we've been on here, right? That he has drawn partisan gerrymanders that are not compact, that are unnatural, that cross county lines, that cross geographic lines, that cross bodies of water, that cross the Everglades, that cross from one metropolitan area to another. That he has done that in order to draw a partisan gerrymander. So he is trying to also challenge fair districts, which we voted on, and it was constitutionally approved language. And I have someone and I think I'm going to put this on social media later. I have someone who's moved to Florida recently, who's a Republican, who's lives in the Treasure Coast, who is came from Long Island, like so many of these people, who's basically saying, "Well, we didn't vote on that. Okay, so we're going to allow carpetbaggers to come into this state and say, well, we didn't vote on fair districts, and we need to be represented. So you need to redraw the map every 2 years and draw it to our partisan specifications." That's the precedent that's being set here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and the Supreme Court is just, I mean, anything could happen.
Right.
Right. The Supreme Court has, I mean, this is why I think, okay, if you're the Democrats, again, start thinking 3 steps ahead, 4 steps ahead. How do you, so from what you just said, that this becomes the precedent, how do you change that? Go ahead and vote those people out for retention. Granted, DeSantis can go ahead and just put somebody else, or whoever the next governor is, right? If David Jolly wins, all of a sudden you say you're going to get rid of a bunch of Supreme Court justices, they're not retained, then, you know, you got Jolly picking them.
I don't know who's up merit retention this time. Right. I'm not sure what.
Someone mentioned that there were a few. Let me go back into chat because somebody did list who those were.
By the way, I see someone in the chat says, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of Floridians are leaving for Georgia and Atlanta. That is correct. Georgia and North Carolina. Tons of Floridians are leaving. Professional jobs are fleeing the state. There was just an article on this in the Wall Street Journal, believe it or not, Rupert Murdoch paper yesterday about the number of younger professionals fleeing Florida the last few years as Florida becomes increasingly a state of angry, kind of exurban geriatrics from up north.
Yeah,
it's what's happening.
So okay, the Chief Justice is up.
Okay,
John Curiel. See, I don't know the courts at all.
Oh yeah, okay,
and
he needs to be voted down.
Jamie Grosshands. Jamie Grosshands.
Vote her down too.
Yeah. So I mean, that's where the Democrats' next fight should be. If you're trying to make sure this doesn't happen 10 years from now, you have to have the battles now. Okay. So that's where, to me, if you're not going to run anybody in easily winnable state house and state senate seats, at least go for the judges. I mean,
they did make this effort in 2024 for the first time, but it was the wrong cycle.
Right.
It's just a bad cycle here.
Well, now you got the argument.
Keep doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you got the arguments. Because I was talking about making a constitutional amendment, rejecting these seats. Now, granted, somebody mentioned it wouldn't get 60%. That's true. But if you do get a majority of voters that would say no, maybe, that is the court of public opinion, which is all we have now. And Democrats are doing really, really shit at that.
Yeah.
All right, Kartik. So we're going to go ahead and end it for today. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we go?
Yeah, just keep an eye on this and keep tuned to Voting Trend, and you can check out the Florida Squeezes YouTube page, also doing quick updates there. Maybe in the next few days, Dave and I will be back to discuss the maps if they're approved, right?
Right. Yeah, which will only be a few days from now.
Yeah, and lawsuits. There will be lawsuits. I mean, I actually, the phone call I got as we were trying to get on this thing was from a congressional candidate in a district in North Florida who was actually talking to an ACLU lawyer who said that basically in terms of VRA, they feel like they have a strong case in a couple places. I would assume one of them would be Darren Soto's district, the Castro district too, as you said.
Right.
So that's federal. I think there will be a lawsuit on the state level too. They both have to be. Both paths have to be pursued.
Well, and that's the thing. It's got to be done through something like the ACLU because I don't trust the Florida Democratic Party to do it. It's got to be done through other channels and other avenues. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the ACLU will be all over this.
Yeah. So that's good. That Yeah. So yeah, go over to the Florida Squeeze. Just go here on YouTube, search Florida Squeeze. It's the first thing that comes
Yeah,
up. Um, I'm on Blue Sky, as you know. Kardic's
so am
on
I.
Blue Sky. You could probably just search his name. Um, is Florida Squeeze on Blue Sky or no? Is it just
No, we
you?
should put him on Blue Sky. It's just on Twitter. We should get it off of there, actually.
Yeah.
Twitter is a cesspool, although it's been kind of useful today. I think Peter Schorsch is all fired up because of the St. Petersburg aspect of this, which he should be.
Yeah.
Um, he's basically tweeting, "I don't want to be represented by someone from Arcadia."
Really?
Yeah, which is true, right?
I mean, because if you guys don't know, you probably cannot get two different groups of people than like people from downtown St. Pete and people from Arcadia. I mean, that probably
has
is the
the chat
most
ever been to Arcadia? Seriously,
right.
I was there like 11 months ago. I stopped at a park and there was actually an electric charger at Arcadia. I couldn't believe, and I used it. But yeah, it is.
God, I think the last time
Arcadia is like the Wild West. It's like basically like a frontier town in the western part of the United States. You would not think it's Florida, actually, and it's that rural kind of very conservative frontier town in the same district as the most cosmopolitan downtown in Florida.
Right. Right. So yeah, Peter, maybe you'll get an Arcadia guy. Ready. So
can you imagine if you're sitting in St. Pete and your congressman is someone such and such are Arcadia?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean that one.
And they have a satellite office at the Raymond James Building in downtown St. Pete.
Right. I mean, but then, I mean, you really have, well, no, 14 wouldn't be the case. Because you can have the Hillsborough split up into 3 districts.
Well, 14 will be Laurel Lee. So, but you could have 15. You could have someone from Inverness.
But what I was saying, right. You can have someone from Inverness. You could have someone from like anywhere in Citrus or Hillsborough. 12. Does that become
so? The University of South Florida is going to be in a district potentially by someone represented by.
By somebody in Citrus County.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you could. I mean, 14 will have a representative from Hillsborough, but the
for
other,
now, yeah, be her.
The only thing that maybe makes her district a little bit less winnable is this town and country part and stuff like here, but that's not enough because you got Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. You got Plant City here.
Yeah, just for those who think DeSantis is somehow different than Trump, DeSantis decided he was going to do some sort of initiative attacking Biden by launching it in Brandon, Florida. Okay, I mean this guy's not a serious person.
No.
All the conservatives who still want to be Republicans and they'll say, "Oh yeah, Trump's indecent," but DeSantis, he's the traditional conservative. This guy's not a serious guy. No. So we went to Brandon, Florida, to launch this anti-Biden thing.
No, if anyone, the guy that he beat to become governor was a traditional conservative, Adam Putnam.
Yeah, Adam Putnam.
I mean, Adam Putnam is like the true. I mean, if we want to talk about one true Republican victim from the whole Trump thing, I would say it's Adam Putnam because he was in the leadership of the House. Decided to come back to Florida. He was in the House and then ran for Ag Commissioner, right?
Yeah.
And became Ag Commissioner.
He got beat. He lost his lead. So he was in the leadership. He got beat by Mike Pence.
Right.
That's an important thing to remember.
Right.
Yeah. That's why he came back to Florida.
Or he doesn't come back here. I'm in Illinois. He comes back to Florida. Becomes Ag Commissioner. Expected to be the shoo-in for governor. I mean, really, Kartik, I think. I mean, were you and I even considering that it would be DeSantis? Because
I think we all thought DeSantis was
anyway.
Yeah, well,
right. He won a primary when he was running for Congress with like 7 or 8 different people and barely won that primary. Like his entry into Congress was also a fluke.
Yeah, and he was polling really poorly in the U.S. Senate race when he was running. Actually, he was polling below Dave Jolly.
But I was just going to say that, right?
Yeah. when he was running for Rubio's seat when that appeared open.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. Is there anything that you want to add before we go?
Nope, that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you all very much.